Alrighty, so this game between Montreal versus Orlando City just finished a couple of minutes ago, and I feel like this game kind of had that playoff and also cup final vibe, where it was a game where after watching the madness that we saw in the game between RSL versus Austin FC, this one was definitely not as crazy as what we saw in the last playoff game, but again, it had that cup final vibe with the way that there wasn't really much chances. It was very tight throughout the entire part of the game, but ultimately, once one of these teams break through, they pretty much had the upper edge, and that in the end, it was Montreal, the one that has the upper edge, and they kind of deserved this win with the way that they were by far the better team in terms of the way that they kind of control throughout the full 90 minutes. I mean, Orlando, they were trying to do what they usually do on the road, trying to maybe search a goal out of somewhere and then kind of bunker for the entire game and hope to get themselves the winner. And in some way, they actually had a couple of decent chances to get themselves that goal that they of course usually look for on the road and then just kind of go into shutdown mode, but it just kind of never came in this one. And eventually, when Montreal finally found a way to provide a good final ball and a good build-up, they got the goal, and they really never looked back after that. Now, in the first half, I just want to mention that Stade Saputo was definitely packed to the rafter. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely rocking in this game, and that's what happened when you have a fan base that have not seen a team play in a home playoff game since 2016, and that the excitement in the Montreal area was definitely at an all-time high. So it shouldn't be a big surprise that the atmosphere was absolutely electric, and that, yeah, you just feel like it was going to be a special night for Montreal in this one. Though in the 7th minute, the first chance came as Kamara hits it just high on the header. As again, I thought Montreal has all the possession, but there's only one shot that they've been generating against this low block Orlando defense throughout the first 15 minutes, and that kind of was the story for most part of this game, where despite the fact that Montreal had most of the possession, they were really lackluster when it comes to their final third play. Though there was a huge shout for a penalty for Montreal, as they feel like Kone was brought down by Kwan in the box, and I feel like it could have been a penalty given to Montreal if Kone didn't actually embellish this and didn't go down to the ground a little bit too easily, because I feel like in this one, you can definitely see Juan made a lot of contact in Kone, but it feels like he made the contact as Kone was about to dive. Like if Kone actually didn't dive and didn't embellish it, I think he could have won himself a penalty in this case. But sometimes this is why when I know there is that rule where when you're an attacker, you maybe might practice some dark arts in terms of maybe go down easily so you can draw a penalty, but there's also ways that it can work against you, and it feels like this is an example of it, where if Coney didn't just practice that dark arts and maybe be a little bit more honest as Juan was kind of clash into him, then I think the referee would have called that a penalty. But because of the fact that the referee feel like Coney already kind of gone down when Juan was ready to barge into him and gave away a penalty, that's why the penalty, of course, wasn't given. And yeah, this game remains at 0-0, and the first big opportunity for Orlando came in 25th minute. In fact, this was probably the best chance up to this game, as Kara actually went through on goal, but he just could not keep his composure and put it over the bar. But the possession was 59-41 in favor of Montreal, and the shots, though, only was 2-1 in favor of Orlando for the first 30 minutes. Again, it was a very low kind of shooting game, with the way that both of these teams, they didn't really want to commit too many men for it, because they know this is a playoff game and they don't want to give up that first goal, and all of a sudden they can find themselves chasing the game. Now in the 36th minute, Angulo did blast it high from long range. Again, a good half chance here for Orlando City, and I really thought that despite dominating this match, Orlando really had the two best look, and this is what Orlando like to do when they're on the road, where they usually find some good looks and able to capitalize it, and next thing you know, just gonna bunker, and most of the time they've been able to be successful with that. And that you just wonder, with those two chances that they had, and the fact that they weren't able to convert, is that gonna come back to bite this Orlando City team? Now in the 45th minute, there was also another huge shout for a penalty for Montreal, as they feel like Lappanainen was brought down by Carlos. And I'll tell you what, this was a little bit more convincing to be a penalty compared to the previous one, because you definitely did see that Carlos did make some contact on Lapanainen, and it's also kind of one that I feel like it could have been very 50-50. I've seen that being called as a penalty in MLS before, but I also have seen it. It's not been called, so it's very 50-50, and that unfortunately just didn't go Montreal way, and the penalty was not given. Though Carlos, though, on the other end, he had a big opportunity to give Orlando the lead right on the stroke of halftime, as he was open in the box, and he did a perfect technique to chest this one down and hits it on the volley. But the problem is he wasn't able to put that one on target. And again, I know he's a defender, and usually you don't expect defender to do that, but with the technique that he did, you gotta say he has to do better in terms of the finishing. And again, for a team that was kind of up against it coming into this one on the road against Montreal, these missed chances, it looked like it could come back to haunt Orlando, because these are usually the chances that we've seen Orlando bury before on the road, even though they weren't playing at their best and they were just kind of bunkering throughout the whole game. And that, as I said, it could come back to haunt them, and it did, because as we head to halftime, scoreless between this game in the second half. Camacho had a chance early, but he missed wide from close, and actually from the corner. Again, Montreal, they continued to dominate possession, but like the first half, they really just cannot unlock this Orlando City defense. And credit to this Orlando City defense, they were very, very stingy, and that's kind of been the way we've seen them whenever they're on the road, where they like to go with this low block, and that they don't really allow a lot of chances. And Montreal was having a tough time in terms of finding any opportunity in the final third. And then in the 51st minute, another half chance for Orlando gone to waste when Torres had a big chance from 16 yards out, but just could not keep that one down. And again, Facundo Torres is another guy that sometimes can score some big goals on the road, and that is definitely one that he wants to have back, especially after what happened later in this one. But there's also, you just kind of had some tension feeling inside Saputo. I mean, the atmosphere, of course, was great, but you just kind of sense that, there's definitely that nervy energy inside the stadium, because they've seen Montreal haven't really created much and haven't given the fans a lot to cheer about with the chances that they create, and that Orlando had a couple of good half look, and next thing you know, they eventually will capitalize one of them. And that I also kind of feel like this could be one of those games where one goal could be enough to win you the game. And it turns out, as soon as I wrote that, Montreal scores. So it's Ishmael Kune, the one that scored from Mihajlovic to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. So apologies to Orlando City fans in advance that I might have just jinxed them with the way that I talked about how there was kind of tension, and maybe Orlando was going to get that goal. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I did that or not, but in some way, it's kind of funny how I literally wrote that, and then Montreal immediately must have read that, and yeah, they of course got the crucial opening goal here in the 68th minute to give them a 1-0 lead, and also a big moment for Ishmael Kone. We talk about the hype that is around this kid, especially from the Canadian national team. He definitely could be a future number 9 for the Canadian national team, and he's definitely making a case, stepping up here and score a big playoff goal in this one. Though on the other end, Moutinho did blast it high from long range before, on the other end, Kamara looked to trying to finish this game up, but he just puts this one high as he was trying to chip it over Galese. But I also thought Orlando, they look like they're defeated. Again, I know Orlando this season, they have had some crazy comebacks, and they have exercised the cardiac cats kind of move that they've shown this season, scoring late goals. But again, I just feel like in this game, they don't look like they were threatening at all. I mean, Montreal, they would just continue to dominate this game. They weren't threatening at all at the back because of the way that they kept the ball in most of the Orlando City half, and that you just feel like Orlando, they look like they're gas, and that they just look like a team that maybe the magic has ran out to this team. And indeed, it was confirmed in the 7th minute of stoppage time when a penalty was given to Montreal after VAR deemed that Moutinho found Mihajlovic in the box. Originally, it was call outside the box, but on a further look, they did do the correct call, overturning that and give a penalty for Montreal, which Mihajlovic was able to bury that penalty to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal, and that was the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 5 that Orlando City has, 2 shots on goal compared to none that Orlando City has, 3 shots off target compared to 5 that Orlando City has, 6 shots out of block compared to none that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to the 41% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And while Montreal didn't play well in this one, again, like what I said in the game between Austin versus RSL, it's not about playing well in the playoffs. It's all about just surviving and just getting at the end of the 90 minutes or 120 minutes or even in the PK shootout into the next round, and that's exactly what Montreal did in this one. But for Orlando City, again, you just had a feeling coming into this game they were going to be up against it, and that when you're a team that you're facing against a much superior team, you have to bury those chances, because if you don't bury those chances, you're going to get punished. And that in this one, the quality of Montreal clearly shown in this one, while for Orlando City, their quality definitely did not show up in this game. And now it's going to be a long off season for this team, because again, this team feels like it's just kind of stuck in this situation where now it's that back-to-back first-round exit, and that it feels like the progress that they thought that they made when they hired Oscar Pereira is started to kind of gone backwards. And I think this is where FC Dallas fans kind of warned Orlando City before, where yes, getting Oscar Pereira originally when Orlando City they hired him a couple years ago was a great choice, and it showed that. But there is a reason why Oscar Pereira eventually was let go by FC Dallas, because eventually things kind of take a turn for his worse. The tactics that he used kind of was a little bit outdated and didn't quite get the team over the hump, and it feels like it's the same case we're seeing with Orlando City and his time with the Lions so far. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.